The Caribbean is unique in the world in that you can actually go there and get not only residency, but citizenship by actually buying passports there. It's one of the few parts of the world where you can actually do this. In this video, I'm going to clear up a lot of confusion regarding this and how it's done. And at the end of the video, I will tell you how much it costs and about how long it takes. I am Caleb Jones. This is Sovereign CEO. I help people just like you how to set up location-independent businesses, move to a less bad country, or at least set up an international backup plan, and do all these things for very little money. The Caribbean is one of the most misunderstood regions in the entire world when it comes to Westerners. And I have seen a lot of incorrect information all over the internet regarding how this works and a lot of incorrect assumptions on how this works in terms of getting residency and or citizenship in a Caribbean country. And there are things you might be surprised to learn in this video. First off, I call it the Caribbean, not the Caribbean. The Caribbean is the British pronunciation. The Caribbean is the American pronunciation. I call it the Caribbean because whether Americans like this or not, the actual English language was invented in England. It wasn't invented in New York, and it wasn't invented in California. It was invented in England. So if you want to know the real quote unquote way in which to pronounce certain words, I tend to lean in the British direction, and that's why I call it the Caribbean. Plus, most Caribbean natives will prefer the Caribbean pronunciation over the Caribbean pronunciation. Now, if you call it the Caribbean because you're from the United States, it's not a big thing. I'm just telling you why I choose to pronounce it Caribbean. Now, here's the primary issue when it comes to seeking residency or citizenship in a Caribbean country, and that is that most locations in the Caribbean, people think are actually countries, but in fact, they're not countries. Most of the locations that you've heard of, or perhaps even visited, are not countries. They're territories owned by other countries. And you can't get a passport in a region that is not a country. You can't get a passport in a territory. For example, if you're an American, you might know that Puerto Rico is not a country. It's a territory owned by the United States. Can you get a Puerto Rican passport? No, there's no such thing. You would get an American passport. It works the same way with most Caribbean, quote unquote, countries. I'll call them regions. Most of them are territories. For example, I've seen a lot of people who assume the Cayman Islands is a country. It's not. It's a territory owned by the UK. So can you become a citizen of the Cayman Islands? No, you can become a resident of the Cayman Islands, but you can't become a citizen. You would become a UK citizen. And then the question you have to ask yourself is, would you become a citizen of the UK? I can tell you I sure as hell wouldn't. I know a lot of people from the UK here in Dubai and all over the world, and I don't hear anything positive from these people about where the UK is going. I could give you many other examples. St. Martin, which is an amazing place. Matter of fact, one of my clients has a home there. He spends half the year there. That's pretty tempting. Maybe I should do something in the future. St. Martin's wonderful, but St. Martin's not a country. St. Martin is owned by France. Aruba, that's another place most people are aware of. Aruba is not a country at all. It's owned by the Netherlands. So could you get an Aruba passport? No, you can't. By the way, if you want more detail on which country should be a good country for you to move to or relocate to, you can check out my course Escape Plan at escapeplancourse.com, where I go through the entire planet Earth in terms of what countries would be best for you and how to move to that country. You should check it out. But what I'm going to do now is actually go through a list of all the regions, because they're not countries, regions of the Caribbean, and go through which ones are territories and which ones are actual real countries you can get a passport from. I'm just going to pull up a list here on my phone because there's too many to remember. But really quick, so San Andres, and I will probably mispronounce some of these because some of them are pretty weird. There's a lot of them. That is owned by Colombia, so that is not a country. Guadalupe, Martinique, St. Barthélemy, I probably said that wrong, and St. Martin, as I said earlier, they're all owned by France. So these are territories you could move to and get residency in, but you could not get a passport in these places. Then next we have Aruba, Jamaica. Ooh, I wanna take Aruba, Bonaire, Curaçao, I'm sure I said that wrong, Saba, St. Eustatius. See how fucking hard these are to say? Can you tell I'm an American or ex-American? Yeah. And St. Martin, those are all owned by the Netherlands. Cool? Cool. Then we have Anguilla, the Virgin Islands, the Cayman Islands, and Montserrat, and those are all owned by the United Kingdom. UK. Also, Turks and Caicos. That's a big popular spot for a lot of North American Westerners. A lot of people assume that's an actual country. It's not. It's owned by the UK. Moving on, we have Navassa, which I've never heard of. Puerto Rico, of course, and the Virgin Islands. These are all owned by the US. And then we have federal dependencies of Venezuela and Nueva Esparta, which are both owned by Venezuela. Kind of interesting how Venezuela intends to control those territories in their current state. So, of all those places, none of those are countries. So the way that works is you could move there, you could set up banking there, you could get possible residency there, but you could not get a passport from those countries because they're not countries. Cool? Cool. All right. Now I'm going to go through the countries that are actually real, actual, independent, sovereign nations, real countries. I'm going to go through each one and tell you what I know about each one of these things and whether or not Five Flags is an option for these countries. Now, before I do that, if you like this content, you should subscribe to this channel, put a like on this video, click the dumb notification bell, and leave a comment on this video. It doesn't really matter what you say. As long as I get a lot of algorithm-friendly activity on this content, I will produce more of this content for you for free. So you're only helping yourself. Okay, here are the actual countries in the Caribbean. First one is Antigua, often known as Antigua and Barbuda. There is an actual passport that you can purchase there for about $130,000. And that's one of the least expensive passports you can purchase. And I'll cover more about that at the end of the video. But that's actually one of the options that I am personally looking at myself. The great thing about Antigua, and this always changes, but at the moment, if you purchase a passport there, they will also automatically give citizenship to your wife if you are married and your children if you have any. Not bad. Or should I say your spouse if you're a woman married to a man. Pretty cool. Next one is the Bahamas, one of my favorite countries. Love that place, been there many times. Not a good Five Flags spot, but a very good place to visit. Next one is Barbados. I have never been there. I know very little about it, but that is one of those places where everyone I've heard from who spend time there or have family there or visit there love it. That is on one of my places to visit, hopefully in the next 18 months or so. Next, we have Cuba. That is a topic in and of itself. Probably not a good Five Flags location at this point. At some point, I will visit Cuba because it's on my list to go, but it's not a place I recommend as a flag unless you're doing something very unusual and creative. Next, we have, this is interesting, Dominica and the Dominican Republic. Now, here's the thing about these two places, countries. These are actually countries. Most people mix these two up. And they have literally nothing to do with each other, and they are nothing alike. For example, Dominica is a teeny tiny little country on a teeny tiny little island, about 70,000 people, and it's populated by mostly Caribbean black people. Whereas the Dominican Republic is a large country. It's the other half of Haiti. There's like 10 million people, and it's a Hispanic country. Both of these places do offer really interesting residency programs and citizenship programs, but just be aware, they are not the same country and they have nothing to do with each other. They are radically different cultures, radically different everything. Don't mix the two up. Dominica and Dominican Republic. Cool? Cool. All right, moving on is Grenada. I don't know much about Grenada. It's just not a country that's been on my radar, so I really couldn't comment on it. There are no Five Flags programs that are of interest that I'm aware of. Next one is Haiti. Haiti is a shithole. I do not recommend Haiti for anything. I don't think you should even visit Haiti. I don't see the point. Avoid Haiti in my opinion. Jamaica. Jamaica is a pretty good place to visit, but it is not good as a flag. There's no compelling reason I can think of to use Jamaica as a flag, but it is a very cool place to visit. I have never been there, but I have a lot of buddies who've been there. My brother likes going there a lot to visit and spend time. St. Kitts and Nevis. This achieved some level of fame when Neil Strauss, many years ago, published a book called Emergency, where he got a second passport by purchasing a house there or a condo there or something like that for $250,000. They do have a program like that. I believe it's up to $500,000 now, where you buy a piece of property. You buy either a condo or a timeshare or a house, and you have to spend at least $500,000. I believe that is the number. And then they give you a passport. Now, however, it's not like you can just go pick any house you want. There are certain houses or properties that they select for you. Usually they're not very good. Usually they're pretty crappy, but I do know people who have done this successfully. So that is an option if that sounds good to you, if you want to own a house or some kind of property in the Caribbean. St. Lucia. St. Lucia does have a citizen by investment program. I don't know much about it, but I know it's pretty good from what I remember. I also recommend it as a flag for various reasons. I think there's some good banking systems and things like that there as well. St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I know nothing about this country. I have no idea. I probably should do some more research on this. I really don't know. Then lastly, we have Trinidad or Trinidad and Tobago. Again, I know very little about this country. I should probably do more research, but I have really no comment on it. So that's it. Those are the countries where you could possibly get citizenship, not just residency, but citizenship if you move there or if you purchase a passport. Now, let me explain how this works as a very brief overview. Citizenship by investment, where you're basically buying a passport. Does that mean you fly down to a country, you hand over a wad of cash, and they hand you a passport? No, it is much, much, much more complicated than that. What you're going to do is you're going to have to fly to that country and provide mountains of paperwork. Often paperwork that is certified and apostilled in your home country. That in and of itself is a process. Things like your birth certificate, marriage certificate, copies of your passport, criminal background checks, proof of income, proof of net worth, proof of banking, proof of all kinds of things. There's a lot of paperwork involved. It is heavily paperwork intensive. I don't recommend you do this on your own, and I recommend you hire an attorney to help you. How much will it cost? Well, the cheapest programs start at around $100,000 US, and they go up to $500,000 plus. Now, no matter what the price is, you should just mentally add $30,000 onto that for all of the legal fees you're going to pay attorneys and various governmental fees that are not included in that actual price. So for example, if you do the Antigua Citizenship by Investment Program, which I believe is $120,000, it's really going to end up costing you $150,000 when you're all done. So budget for that. Don't budget for the actual quoted price. How long does it take? Do you just whip out $150K and they hand you a passport? No. At best, it will take about 4 months. So be aware of that. At best, sometimes it can take 5, 6, 7 months, sometimes 8 months, sometimes a little longer than that, usually not longer than 8 months. But don't think you can put a wad of cash in a briefcase and fly down to a Caribbean country and hand over a wad of money and they hand you a passport. That's not how it works. You have to submit paperwork. You have to wait for various governments. Governments, as you know, are not very quick. You have to deal with your home government. You have to deal with their government. That's why it takes at best 4 months. Now, the good news is it is guaranteed. Unlike all the other programs I've talked about in my videos and my courses where you can get a passport, those programs are maybe, most likely, probably you'll get a passport, whereas when you do citizenship by investment, it's guaranteed. So yes, you have to wait 4 to 6 months, but it's a guaranteed. You will get that passport. Don't worry. It's a guaranteed thing. That's what you're paying for. Another question I've been asked before is, if you do this, is that tax deductible? No, it's not. This comes right out of your after-tax income. There is no way that I know of to make it tax deductible legally. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but in terms of my research, I haven't found a way to do that. So just be aware, you're going to spend a pretty penny. Now, why would you possibly do something like this? There are many, many reasons for high income earners. If you're a low income guy and you plan on being a low income guy for the rest of your life, why would you do that? But okay, then maybe it's not worth it. But if you're a higher income guy, particularly if you're an American, because as I've said many times, if you're an American and you move out of the United States and you make well more than $130,000 a year, you will continue to have to pay some sort of tax. So if you have a one-time payment of $150,000 or $200,000 or even $250,000 or more, it might make financial sense to do that and get out of paying taxes for the rest of your life. It will take several years to pay for itself, but at that point, it's a profit. Yes, there's an exit tax if you do this for certain countries. I know all those things. That is correct. That's a topic for another time. But that's why it might be of value to you to do this. My plan, if you were curious, is to get 2 more passports in addition to my American passport. And then when I'm all good and ready and I have those 2 passports in my hands and I know they're good, look at possibly renouncing my American citizenship. That's going to take some time. I'm several years away from doing that. I'm not in a huge rush, but I am going to do that because having a second passport in the era in which we live, the era of Western collapse, the era of the dark age in which we have entered, is very, very useful because there's going to be lots of times where you will want a second passport in order to leave a certain country or gain access to a certain country. As things become more volatile all over the world, it can only help you to have that second passport, the ultimate plan B, to make sure you're covered for the rest of your life, no matter what happens. If you want more information on exactly what I'm doing with my 5 flags plan, you can watch this video right here, where I actually show maps and everything I'm doing, and I will see you in that video. Have fun. Bye.